Right. Okay, we had to take a break, get some tea, put the dog up, right?
Yeah. She wanted to be in on it.
Now, my spiritual journey started about the same time as yours. And when I looked around and I saw Taoism, I felt like I could latch on to that because that didn't have a God. And because of my childhood experience with death and polio, watching everybody die, saying, okay, nothing's going to save me. So maybe there is no God. Maybe that's a concept we got. Okay, and I'm still a kid now, and I'm thinking like a kid. But as I'm growing up and I'm looking around, and I see all of the people in the world with physical differences. Some of them have a leg missing, some of them are deaf, some of them are blind. So I'm saying, okay, nobody's going to save you. It is what it is. So I start slowly gravitating towards believing in myself. And I told you guys that in my talks. And if I believe strongly enough in myself and what I'm doing, I will take the actions to make that happen. Unconsciously, I'm on it, and then it will unfold. It always does for me. So I kind of spiritually, I know the Creator and the creation that we live in, that we live and breathe, and this is it. This is Him, or it, or whatever you want to call it. To me, it's a thing. And if you apply a stimulus to it, it'll react. Does every time. And I always look at the hurricanes right now. Okay, we're closer to the sun than normal. Air heats up quicker. Boom, air rushes in. We got our hurricane season.
Yeah.
Okay, the stimulus is being hit. And our thoughts and our actions also provide a stimulus. So when we do something, we could affect change as well.
Well, like I was saying, I studied the law of attraction. If you're positive, you're going to attract positive.
Absolutely.
If you're negative, you're going to attract negative.
Yep.
And another thing that we studied is the Course in Miracles. I don't know if you ever.
I've not heard of that.
Course in Miracles, they talk about that we create our own life.
Yes, that's what Taoism says too. Yeah. You make it.
Yeah. All this is what they teach. All this is an illusion. This is not reality.
Okay.
That's something I haven't quite grasped yet.
I know the concept of that, but the reality, it says, is different than that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't care what you say about my belief system.
I know.
That's there.
It's there.
Okay.
I know. But I do believe that we, inside, we are capable of healing ourselves.
Yes. I believe that too. To a certain extent. You're not going to grow another foot.
What? Yeah.
You're not going to grow another hand if it's missing.
But, Jesus was a good teacher, but he had to teach back then. And there were certain things. When he said that if you have the faith, you can move mountains.
Yes, agreed.
And I think what he was trying to tell us is if we have the faith in ourselves, we can do anything.
Right. And that's people have shown that.
Yeah.
Look at Muhammad Ali. He came out and said, I'm the greatest that ever was. And guess what? Turned out to be.
Yeah.
Because he had that faith. And that's kind of what I was saying. Believe in myself, man.
Yeah. It's amazing. Some of the things that put up a vision, what I call a vision board.
Yeah, you told me once. Tell me about it.
And on the vision board, I put anything that I wanted in life. I put up that money will become easy for me.
Okay.
And it was only 6 months later, I got 100% disability from the VA because of Agent Orange.
Okay.
And all the stuff it gave me, I've got 3 heart stents, and had cancer twice, and high blood pressure. And all this was related to Agent Orange that we were exposed to. But it was, I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with that,
But the money helped, right?
the
money helped.
the money came, and it's helped with my wife and her diagnosis with cancer. That we've got 2 wheelchairs free that the VA gave us.
Oh, that's cool, man. All of that helps.
All that helps. Yeah.
I know Herschel. My first wife had ovarian cancer, and I had just finished up a job in Mexico, and I had my bonuses, my packages, these companies, the automobile industry gave me, and I'm feeling like I could retire, and me and her can just travel the world. You know, I was in my early 50s, and she got cancer, and we exhausted our insurance. I started dipping into that money, and I used all of that money up. And then I took out seconds on the home, and we used all of that up, and then she passed. You know, so I know money, you gotta have it. In this society, you gotta have it. And sometimes it can't come quick enough. And if I'd had to keep her going by stealing, I would have done that too. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And whatever it took, I was there. And, I would have went into hell and back for her. But, we were married 37 years. So I know what you're saying. I know what you're going through. But if you think positive, you could get positive results. But some things are inevitable. Like I said, you can't grow a hand back. There's no such thing as miracles, brother. Okay? That's on fairy tales and Easter Bunny, okay? Because folks don't grow hands back no matter who they believe in or why. Okay, some things are inevitable and they have to be accepted. So that's where my spirituality, I think I'm strong enough to understand that, and I'm strong enough from all of the life's lessons. Life knocks you down, okay? And then the fact that you got up says, okay, you passed that test. You learned something. You're stronger now than you were before that. So I've got these things behind me. And I don't know whether you noticed now, but I have a totem in front of my RV. Those rocks.
Oh, yeah.
I stack them. I got 7 of them for every one of my decades. And every one of those represents growth. Some of that growth was really hard, bro. Because you lived at the same time I lived. You know what it was like. So some of that growth was hard, but it made me a better person. Yeah. I think spiritually I'm strong. I told the group I don't pray. But when Peggy Wolfgang, when she needed the prayers before she went in for lung surgery,
Right.
I came to that prayer group there, and I was there to throw everything I had at her. You know, all my strength and my energies that I pull out of the creation, because I feel like I pull it some days. I sit outside in the mornings and I call myself meditating, but it's not really meditation. I sit there and I watch the leaves and the wind and all of the colors, and I enjoy the smells. I hear the sounds of the city around me and the animals. I love this shit, man. You know, and I feel like I'm pulling it in and it's charging me, you know.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I even get brazen about it and say, okay, what else you got? You know, I took everything else, what else you got? You know, getting cocky some days, man.
As a teenager, I was taught through the scouting thing. They have a thing that you became a tribal.
Okay.
They took all the teachings from Indian tribes, and it was they called it the tribe of Mikase. But in that teaching, I mean, we went out 3 days without any food.
Okay.
And
it was about survival.
It was about survival.
Right.
And hunting and looking for something to put in your medicine pouch.
Okay.
They would give you strong medicine type to become a brave in the tribe. And then the next year you became a warrior.
Okay.
And you had to go through 72 hours of silence.
Yeah, that had to be hard.
Yeah, because you were in the group. You went to breakfast, lunch, and dinner with all the scouts.
Right.
But you weren't allowed to talk or converse. You were supposed to act like nobody else was around you. And to do that for 72 hours, it was interesting, you know.
Right. So what did you get for your pouch?
Really interesting. I got, I could say this because I've already told people what was in the pouch. And it was, I was up on a peak overlooking the Osage River. And above my head was a branch of pine needles. And I took the pine needles and put it in the pouch and sewed it up. And I ended up, Linda, my wife, was raised in Spokane, Washington.
Okay, I know that area. Yeah.
And you know, the pine, the big,
right,
the mountains and
right,
you name it. That's where I ended up.
Okay.
Was in, because I remember sitting down around the breakfast table and telling Mom and Dad that they couldn't understand why I was moving away to Spokane, Washington from Independence, Missouri. And that's when I told them that's what was in the pouch. I said that pine needles.
And somehow that set the stage for you moving there. Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It's the same with I growing up through junior high and high school. I had a friend that was black, and we were real close. And there was one time we were walking back from school. School was over, and we had to walk down an alley. And it was a paved alley. It wasn't dirt road or anything. But as we're walking down the alley, the houses, you would see their backyards. As we're, you know, the front yards were in the main street part.
Okay.
Type.
So it was kind of like an alleyway.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it was an alleyway, and
Okay.
3 houses down, there were this woman was running towards us as we were walking down. And she had, we found out later that her and her husband had just moved from Mississippi. And we're walking down this alley and she was calling out that this, N-word, that you don't walk down this alley. You're not allowed to do that.
Right.
And boy, did I get upset because she was doing this Southern accent with the hand on her head and
all the drama.
All the
Yeah,
drama.
all the drama.
And I'm going to faint. And I walked up to her. I said, we all know that's all put on.
Right.
Right. And she faints and falls to the ground. And I'm going to say, you need to be a better actor. That's what I told her.
Okay.
I said, he has all the right in the world to walk down this alleyway. And later on that afternoon, we were all sitting on the front steps, and the husband comes over and starts yelling at us about it. And all that, and my dad heard. He came out and told him, and he knew what was going on. We had already told him.
Right.
And he told the guy, you go back to your place, this is my property, you're not allowed on it. And then the guy was ramping and raving and said something about, well, we moved here from Mississippi and they don't do things like that here.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad told him, well, I think you better move back to Mississippi.
Because Toto, you ain't in Kansas no more.
Yeah, and it's really funny. And I was just reading a book in my class of Tom Sawyer.
Okay.
About the slave guy that he met up with, and they both went down the Missouri River.
Right.
And head out on an island or something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And that really hit me. Why people would act like that. They're human beings too. I couldn't understand that.
And the worst part about that is all of that was isolated to America. The rest of the world been getting along with each other all along. The last 60,000 years, we've been cohabitating with one another. We've been mixing with one another, blah, blah, blah. Everybody got black blood in them. Most of us got European blood in us, and Asian and American Indians also. We're all mixed, but here, it was founded for racist reasons.
Yeah.
And so it just got convoluted, okay? And that became the way that America was, and it's taken us to this day, and we're still fighting it.
I know. Yeah,
It's just, the mindset is just, I got no explanation for it.
Yeah.
It just is wrong. It needs to come apart at the seams so we can rebuild it.
I know. I thought it did with Martin Luther King. But it seems like we kind of stepped a little bit back.
We stepped 3-4 steps back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all our leaders, they killed them.
But as a boy, I went through that and saw that. And then my two daughters, they end up marrying a black.
Okay.
And I got black children, grandchildren. They're fantastic.
That's how it is in the rest of the world.
Yeah. So I guess this was a path. It was kind of a journey that I guess it knew back then the journey I was going to go on.
Right. Somehow your actions just keep you, informed and you're picking up stuff along the way. You're on a path.
Yeah. So when my daughter started dating a black man, it didn't bother me at all. It's the funniest thing. My parents,
Okay.
they didn't think there were prejudice. But when they heard about my daughter's dating and stuff like, you know,
It came out.
they just said what it's going to do to their children.
Right.
You know, what they're going to have to go through. And I said, well, it's time the world is to change.
Right.
And they just couldn't understand it, why I felt that way. And I says, it's because that's the way you raised me.
Right. Gave them credit for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Because it was, you know, they raised me that everybody was equal. And they raised me that Jesus loved everybody.
Okay. I hear you.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So now you're telling me that we're not supposed to.
Right, because the kid's gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they're absolutely correct because, yeah, we have a hard time. Looking back at my culture, it's obvious that we are descendants from rape in slavery. The master came, raped our women. That's how come we're all here. We're Black Americans. We're here from that. Okay.
Right.
We are the output. Okay. And the slave owners didn't want their kid, even though he was black, to be out there in the fields. So it kept them in the house until a certain age and then put them out. But the people working in the field had hatred for us too, because we were eating a little better. We weren't out there in the field being abused like they were. So we got it from the white culture and from the African culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're like the mongrels of the world. You know, Black Americans, we're a whole culture. I think that's the best way to put it, because we're not a separate race or nothing. We're a culture from rape. You know, and we fight for our own identity because we are strong. You know, everything we get into, we rise right up to the top, whether it be sports, business, politics, or when we had Obama in office. Okay, we rise to the top because we have from the best from all cultures, because we're mixed. We're kind of a prototype.
Yeah.
You know, we're mixed. We're everything. The joke, the Heinz 57, we're everything. So, of course, we're better. That's why we rise to the top. Okay, and that is enough fuel to keep my little fire burning, to keep me going when times get hard. Of course I'm better. Of course I succeeded at what I was doing. I was supposed to. You know, it's, who was that crazy man? Hitler. He tried to pronounce that in his Aryan race, remember? They're supers. But in a way, we are, because we're a combination of everything. You know, I've got Swedish. I did my DNA thing, so I'm Viking. I'm African. I'm English. I'm French. I am from the Neanderthal. It goes way back on that end. German. Irish. I don't have any Native American in me, but I got everything else.
My step-grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee.
Yeah, you told me once.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She was an interesting woman. Boy, she was tough too. Amazing what she could do.
And you being a hybrid as well, see how you are and see how you think and how you process your life. Yeah, these are my grandkids. So what? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, all of that counts. That's part of your spiritual growth. your social part of your growth, through because your spirit is saying, I'm not falling for this crap.
No.
You know.
No, years ago, I realized that religion is man's religion.
Yeah, we invented this.
Yeah,
We invented it. And the proof of that is nobody grows back a hand when it's gone.
And I read a quote once
Okay.
that I really liked.
What's that?
Love is the only true religion.
Okay.
And what was they said something else? Love, true religion, and humanity. No, I forgot what they said about humanity. Humanity. No, this left me. Maybe it was humanity was the only true religion. No.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I like the part about the love part.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Because love is real, man. It's tangible. It can make you crazy. It can satisfy you when, it can keep you going when times is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that concept is, I'm all for it. My early understanding of it was, I wasn't happy with myself, okay, because of my physical issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was never going to have a girlfriend. I was never going to get to run on the beach with beautiful people.
Mm-hmm.
None of them things I was going to be able to do. And I was seriously considering taking myself out. And then it dawned on me one day that, no, I like me. I'm a cool guy. I'm generous. I share my toys with my neighbors and my friends, and I'm kind of happy. And so I just started doing stuff to make me feel better about me. And I looked around and I had attracted this gal. Okay, she showed up on my radar, and I started taking her with me to do stuff. Let's go canoeing. Let's go horseback riding. And we're city kids, and she didn't know about stuff like that. And I got that constantly from her. What? Black people don't do that. Well, I think I'm black, and let's go. So, and as we grew outside of our little neighborhood, and our little world kept getting bigger and bigger, before I knew it, she was calling me, asking me, what are we going to do next? Okay, and then I looked around and she was asking me to marry her. Okay, so she got addicted to the fact that I had love, obviously, because I loved me. And that was spreading out, and it caught her, it grabbed her up in it. So I had something to give. So love is, once you got it, you can give it. But if you ain't got it, you can search for it. You ain't gonna find it. You gonna have some bad times.
Oh yeah.
And people do. They all got this image of what they want. I've heard my friends say that. Oh, I want such and such a woman. Yeah, okay. It ain't like buying a used car, buddy. It don't work that way. You can't choose the person you love, and if you do, you got a problem because you done chose wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did yours gel up?
Oh, my wife.
How did that gel up?
We actually were on a blind date. I was with somebody else. And she was with somebody, a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And we all four went out on the thing, but we kind of hit it off during the date thing. So 3 days later, I asked her out.
Okay.
And it was one of those whirlwind. 3 weeks after we started dating,
Yeah.
we got engaged.
Okay.
And then 6 months later, we got married. We've been married for 48 years.
See, it worked.
Yeah.
And you told me about the protests that y'all used to do together.
Mhm.
So the two of y'all got swept up together in that involvement, and I get it. Love's complicated.
Yeah. It was really interesting. Before we met, it was this, probably the winter before I got back in April, and that's when we met. But she was raised in Spokane, Washington, but she was going to Eastern Washington not community college, university
Okay.
there in the state of Washington, and she marched with Jesse Jackson.
Okay. Rainbow Coalition. Yep.
Downtown.
Yep. I
Spokane.
marched with him too, so I know.
Yeah, and the 6 o'clock news, her parents was watching, and she was the only white girl
Okay.
in front of the parade next to Jesse Jackson walking down, and she was on the 6 o'clock news.
Okay.
Well, then they took her out of college and sent her back to Independence, Missouri, because she was getting too radical.
For them.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah. Not her.
Right. So they sent her back to her sister, and that's the world headquarters.
Mhm.
And like I said, her family was hierarchy in the church,
Right.
so she was sent back there to kind of
Cooler jets.
Cooler jets. Yeah.
That's too cool.
Yeah. And so that's where we met. It was
Okay.
soon after she got back there,
Okay.
and then we got married in the church. And we got married in the auditorium, had a chapel off to the side. I mean, this auditorium was the size of a decent stadium.
Okay.
It would hold 5,000.
That's a good size.
Yeah,
Chapel.
good size, sure. But that's the world headquarters for
Okay.
RLDS. And yeah. So we.
So you got yourself a fire-breathing dragon,
Yeah,
huh?
of course.